What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary free. And I know, you don't like the creator to creator drama, but this is so much less creator to creator. And me, honestly, just standing up for myself because so much of this stuff is completely unacceptable. And in other communities, dare I say, would not be accepted, would not be tolerated. Now, this is a community post I made, which referenced my recent loss of monetization. And that was short term, but I do that out of respect for you, the member, the viewer, the subscriber. Because if you're a member of someone's channel or you've super chatted someone and they lose monetization, it's a very sterile process. You basically get an email that says your membership's been paused or canceled, your super chat's been refunded, and that's it. And it honestly comes down to the creator and whether or not they want to have responsibility for that. I personally appreciate the income I'm able to make on this platform. And when something like that happens, I believe that I owe it to you to explain what happened. And the only way I can communicate is through community post or content. So I do come on and say, listen, this is what happened. Don't be concerned. Everything's okay. Nothing I did. We're going to work past this. I'm still going to make content. I feel like that's something I owe you. Now, moreover, I don't know how anyone in this community could see that happen to one of their peers and be elated or be happy because we're in the same community. Theoretically, what impacts one person could impact every person. Me personally, anytime someone has lost monetization within a group that I've been in or a community that I've worked with, I've always said, hey, what did that person do? And what can I do to lower the percentage that happens to me, right? Even go back, way back covering video games, the COPPA Act was coming in. People were concerned about making content with games. Every time there's a risk assessment when it comes to content. So for that post that I highlighted, to have another community member kind of, wink and nod like, hey, this person lost monetization, right? And then the very following day, use a majority of someone else's content. And it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter how I feel about that person. It's still reusing content, okay? Now, if you want to respond to that, if you feel, hey, I didn't reuse this person's content, I didn't take content from somebody, all these things, then that is something inherently you should be able to address. You should be able to sit down, make a video and say, listen, this person said that I used, 6 minutes of content in this 10-minute video and I didn't. Here's why, here's how, this is a big misunderstanding. And if you want to do that, I'm all for it, right? That we can have a conversation with. But instead, and in this community, it's prevalent, we cite things like this. Strange man who stalks me. And I really want to hone in on this point because I feel like this is intentionally done to divide a community of women from a male creator. So to be clear, the concept is based off a single community post that I made, that I am a strange man who stalks her. Let's just look at her content over the past year, right? We've made over an hour's worth of content here regarding me. So if we're using that playing field, right? Do I not, as a male, have the right to say, hey, this strange woman is stalking me? I personally would never say those things based on this content. But some reason it's acceptable the other way. And as I said, I really don't know what other communities there are that tolerate these type of claims, even moving forward when someone comes on and says something like this. Right? And I'm not even going to discuss people she associates with and what they've been shown doing because it's not relevant, but rather the fact that she responds further rather than saying, hey, don't label someone here, saying that I'm spreading malicious lies, right? Malicious lies, the same lies that you failed to address with really anything other than childish name calling. And, we should be clear. You can't disagree with someone and always have it boil down to this. It always can't be turned into, this person is a perv, this person is strange, this person is stalking me. Is this what we do to men who make content? If you disagree with them or their work, we just label them all these things? Because I can pretty confidently demonstrate that I'm not stalking you. I'm pretty confident that you can't formulate a true case that I am. But by your definition of stalking, this single community post, that's just going to be a really tough call for you. And should we not have the right to view things that you do in the same light that you view things that we do? And I know people in this comment section are going to point out, oh, you're a larger channel, they're a smaller channel. That to me is absolutely irrelevant because one person's lie doesn't become better or worse based on the outreach they have, right? If you're lying about someone, you're a liar, whether you tell one person or a million people. So the fact that other people see that and can run with it, and then perhaps maybe a larger channel would pick it up, that's why this needs to be addressed as it happens. Now, I'd also be remiss if I didn't point out this whole leprechaun and Irish reference, okay? I personally don't understand why it's acceptable to shame people's heritage in this community. And I have a feeling if it came down to it, this person wouldn't make the same remarks about maybe a black content creator because they know the outrage would be there. But when it's someone of Irish descent, when it's someone from another descent, all of a sudden it's acceptable. It's not. It's not acceptable to make fun of someone's heritage. Last thing I want to point out here, and this has been addressed countless times, okay? Years ago, I created an issue for myself with my liver enzymes that were on a path to lead to liver failure. And this was caused due to toxicity in my liver after not taking post-cycle therapy. Okay, thankfully, I was able to have not only the ability to afford, but also take cell therapy, which was successful. Okay, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't prepared for the very real assessment that that was going to be life-threatening. Okay, that doesn't mean that I didn't sit down with both my parents and start to divvy out where my investments were going to go, where my possessions were going to go. Did I address it on my other channel? Absolutely. If something like that happened today, would I address it on this channel? Absolutely. But thankfully, I moved on from that physically, mentally. Now, in fairness, could I use it as a talking point with Chantal? Yeah, perhaps. Right? I could sit here and say, listen, I damaged my liver being irresponsible. You know, I went to a doctor that told me before and after what I was doing was going to lead to permanent issues. And I chose to listen to no one but myself and continue to do the things I wanted to do. I was told, listen, you're making poor life choices and you're going to have a dramatically high probability of organ failure if you continue on this path. And I sat there knowing everything and saying, well, you're just saying that because that's what you feel. That's not going to happen to me. And when it did, I accepted it. Did it make it any less traumatic? Did it make it any less hurtful? Did it make it any less difficult? No. In some ways, I would say it actually makes it more difficult because I had to come to the very real understanding that I was likely solely responsible for this. And I needed to have the financial and mental needs to take care of this. And some people don't have that, right? Some people feel like they've destroyed part of their body and that's it. Some people feel like, hey, I can't afford to get this fixed, or I don't want to afford to get this fixed. Trust me, I'd have much rather spent all of that money elsewhere if I had the choice, if I didn't have to put it into trying to make my body right. But at the end of the day, is that what we're bringing up? Is that some type of, again, some type of leverage point? You know, this whole community, in a sense, needs to be better. So many times someone disagrees with someone, it's never about the point. It's never about the principle. It's always about the character. It's always about parenting. It's always about someone's sexual preference. It's always about someone's ethnicity. Like, enough is enough. If you don't want to have a discussion with someone, or you don't feel that you can have a discussion without making these, I don't even want to say childish insults, because listen, as a child, you can insult someone's heritage and be completely ignorant to it, right? And not really even know what you're saying. But as a grown adult, when that's what you resort to, you know full well what you're doing. When you encourage someone to be labeled a pervert, when you encourage someone to be labeled a stalker, when you encourage labeling someone's ethnicity. As an adult, you know the consequences of those things and what you're saying. As a child, you might not know. But again, if this is how we're making content, then honestly, as a community, as the viewer, there needs to be some type of accountability to say, listen, we're not tolerating this. And I would even go as so far to say that if someone sat there every single day and truly fabricated things about Chantal, truly labeled Chantal things that were not true, that not only would there be a groundswell of creators that would disagree with it, even ones you might not think would disagree with it, but moreover, what it does, it waters down the people in our community that have truly been predatory. You know, the karate Joes of the community, they get diluted when you start throwing these labels out just because you disagree with someone and don't like them. And you feel like the only thing you can do to try to counter their argument is by creating these labels. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you watching it. Be back as soon as I can with more commentary.